Hello and welcome to my Game Week 11 preview for Champman FPL. I hope you enjoyed your Game Week 10. So a bit of an upset for Man United, wasn't it, away at Millwall? It was red card affected, but I think we were probably due a result like that, weren't we? I think it's the biggest upset of the season so far. I say we were probably due one. So well played if you went elsewhere for your captaincy. I think most of the other captaincy options outside Man United got something, even if it was just an assist. I think, if you captained outside Man United and you didn't do better, then you were pretty unlucky. But I think results like that can happen. It doesn't always go the way you'd expect. It'd be a pretty crap game otherwise, wouldn't it? Champman 0102. There wouldn't be people still playing it 20 years later if it was 100% predictable. So there we go. We've had, as I say, I think that's our first big upset of the season. Aside from that, though, I think most of the other games, if not all of the other games, pretty much went the way we'd have expected. Just in small doses again, really. Five out of six of the picks of the week from last week got something, but it's just not happening explosively, is it? It's the hot picks each week. Not just from my sim data, but just in people's general feelings and other people's sim data. What the people that seem to be the hot picks of the week, they're tending to get something. One goal, one assist, maybe one of each. But the explosive returns, I feel, just aren't quite happening yet. The way that they were in season one, for the hot picks. There was a period in season one where it felt like if you picked the right captain each week, you were getting hat tricks every week. You could get one from Rebrov one week, Phillips another week, Shearer another week, Viduka another week, and then Van Nistelrooy. If you had the armband on the right player each week, the explosive returns, it felt like they were there every week. Maybe that's just because we were playing Saturday, Tuesday, and it was thick and fast. But it definitely feels slightly more sort of trickle returns this season, I would say. But I do feel that the tide on that will change at some point, because it's been very often the case that players coming out on top on sim data, and even outside of sim data, just players for teams that look hot that week, are having lots of shots, lots of key passes, but then just not quite delivering the amount we hoped for. So Christie this week was an example. I saw in the stats that were shared from the main account that he had 6 shots. I mean, in this game, a striker having 6 shots, that is easily enough to get a hat trick. But he came out of 1 assist. So that happened this week, and then Phillips was the same against Millwall. Phillips could have had a hat-trick against Millwall, it just didn't quite happen. I had a week where one shot had 6 shots on target, and didn't come out with anything, and so on. So it feels like that's happening more this time, whereas last season, all those hat-tricks were just going in. But that's my gut feel, and I do feel that tide will change. If you keep going with the right matchups, keep picking the players from the right teams each week, it will come good. I'm pretty confident of that. I don't see why it wouldn't. So that said, on to this week. Or let's talk about the standings quickly first. Actually, just briefly. So I think because of the United result, it was a pretty low average this week, I would say. I think if you captained anyone outside Man United, you probably had a decent week. And the gap has closed at the top. So the consolation for me this week is, although I did pretty average, I captained Rude. So it wasn't a massive score from me, but I did, although I dropped a few places, I did close on the leader. So, every cloud. It is tightening up. It's very close. I mean, look at it. You can see for yourself. It's very tight, and it's the same. It's the same all the way down. Really, there's really not a lot in it. So do stick at it. There's still a long way to go. Right, on to this week. Arsenal Leicester. So Arsenal are going to attack at home and Leicester will come away and defend. So we know what that means, don't we? Arsenal are a good team at home. They're way out on top. Leicester really struggling in this game. Arsenal averaging just over 2 goals a game. 16 wins, 15 clean sheets. That's massive. Leicester really did seem to struggle going forward in this one. And one of their goals... Well, they managed to score one of those goals when they were down to 10 men. So that 7-1 was red card affected. Early red card in that one. And we're going to look at the player stats in a minute. But classic Henry, Arsenal won 7-1. And Henry, he did play, but he didn't get anything out of that game, amazingly. But I say amazingly, but you'd kind of almost expect it, wouldn't you? What we've seen from him so far in the real game over the 2 seasons. So yeah, 7-1 there, red card affected, and then other than that, Arsenal had a few more 3s and a 4. Yeah, a lot of 2s. So yeah, reasonably comfortable home win. 2 or 3-0 is a reasonable expectation, I think. And the player stats, so say Henry out on top, but he got nothing in that 7-1. But he did return pretty consistently through the others. And then yes, similar story. I mean, it's just an illustration that Arsenal were on top. Outside of Henry, Tikhonov is a decent pick this week. I think he seems to be starting pretty frequently. Van Bronckhorst would be a decent pick this week, I think. Anybody from the Arsenal defence, they look pretty good for a clean sheet. So that's Arsenal Leicester. Bolton Liverpool. So as we've spoken about before, Liverpool are one of those teams that are kind of on the cusp of being viewed as a tough game or not. So I put attacking here for Bolton. I suppose there's a chance they'll play normal, but from what we've seen from other teams so far this season, I think the balance of probability is that Bolton will attack them at home. And Liverpool will definitely attack away to a low reputation team. So a much more open game in this one. So you've fairly matched tactic, but Liverpool have got better players, so they've come out on top. But yeah, wouldn't discount Bolton. They've hit 3 there, 5 there. They've hit 2 numerous occasions. But Liverpool just shading it, really. They're hitting 2 or 3 a little bit more consistently. But yeah, I fancy both teams to score, and maybe Liverpool just shade it. And then you see towards the bottom, you've got that chance that it will be a tighter game. But reasonable hope and expectation that we know we could get one of these further up. So yeah, in terms of attacking returns, wouldn't rule out either team. And wouldn't put your house on a clean sheet for either of them. Then player returns. So as often is the case in Sims, Pedersen and Wallace were fairly close up front for Bolton, and then a spread for Liverpool is often what you see. So Owen not here, but wouldn't rule him out by any means. That's Bolton Liverpool. Borough Millwall. So Middlesbrough will attack at home. Millwall will play normal away from home. So Middlesbrough slightly more aggressive, and they've got better players. So this is the expected result. Middlesbrough well on top, 17 wins out of 20, 11 clean sheets. And they're hitting 2s or 3s almost every time. I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 14 times out of 20, Middlesbrough have scored at least twice. They got a 5, a 4, a few 3s. So good game for the Borough, as you'd expect. Player returns. You probably didn't need me to show you this, did you? Middlesbrough looked good to win at home. Boxic, Cepeda, Rickard, Johnson, all great picks. Their defence looks good as well this week. Charlton Leeds. Charlton will play normal at home, I think. I think they'll see Leeds as tough opposition. Outside chance they'll play attacking, but I think probability they'll play normal. Leeds play normal away from home. So pretty evenly matched in terms of the tactic. So you can almost kind of forget that and say, okay, who's got better players? Well, it's Leeds, isn't it? And that's what we're seeing in the Sims. So 16 wins out of 20 for Leeds. Only 7 clean sheets, but we've seen, although Charlton tend to lose more often than not, they do get goals along the way, don't they? So yeah, that looks about right. But in terms of explosiveness, lots of 4s, 5s, 3s from Leeds, or compared to anyone else so far. So looks a good week for Leeds. And the player returns. So Viduka came out on top for me, but yeah, a really decent spread through the Leeds team, really. So Charlton tend to get the odd goal along the way. So Hughes and Ewell seems about right, doesn't it? That they might be the guys that get something. But yeah, much stronger for Leeds. Really good game for Leeds again this week. Chelsea Spurs. So Chelsea will play attacking at home and Spurs play attacking away against all but the really big guns. So yeah, similar to what I said in the last game, really. The tactic is pretty similar. So who's got the better players? Chelsea have just about got the better players, haven't they? So they're coming out on top. But not crazy explosive. Lots of 2s, a few 1s, and then just a handful where they've done a bit better than that. And then for Tottenham, they've scored a reasonable amount of times. Only 8 clean sheets for Chelsea, but all 1s or 2s, a handful of 2s, and then a scattering of 1s. Nothing more than that. So yeah, reasonably tight. I mean, Chelsea, both teams to score, and Chelsea just about to win. 2-1 or 2-0 looks the probable result. And then with an outside chance of something a bit more exciting, or a bit more boring. Player returns. So Lampard, again in my Sims, is doing really well. So that's 3 weeks in a row Lampard's done really well in my Sims, but I'm going to stick to my story. As I've said the last couple of weeks, Zenden and Carboni are the better picks. From what we're seeing in the sim that we're playing, and that's turned out to be the case, hasn't it? So I don't see that changing. And then Slakovic, he could get a penalty or something, or he could get one of the odd goals. Everton Blackburn. So Everton will attack at home and Blackburn will defend. But we're seeing kind of Blackburn kind of have been consistently kind of bucking the trend from what you kind of look at the tactics and think, oh, what's going to happen? They are defensive, but they've got hard tackling. They will press and they will counter attack, and they've got good players. So Blackburn kind of buck the trend for a defensive team away from home a lot of the time, and that's what we're seeing here. They really have come out quite strong for me. They've won 14 out of 20. They've kept 9 clean sheets, and they've dominated. But I think if you think back to was it last week or the week before, Blackburn away at Newcastle. So Newcastle attacked Blackburn at home, and it was really tight. It looked good for a draw. But Newcastle have got better players than Everton, and Blackburn are going away with a similar, the same kind of tactic as they went away to Newcastle. But Everton just aren't as good as Newcastle. So, and we've seen, if you watch the Sunday streams as well, Blackburn getting good results away from home in Europe at the moment with their defensive tactic. So, it seems to work for them. So, yeah, I'm going to go with this. I said last week I kind of questioned the sim data for Chelsea away at Ipswich, where Chelsea didn't look too good, and I said, my gut tells me it will probably be a bit better for Chelsea, but actually it went with the sim data, so I'm not going to question it this week. Blackburn looked good away to Everton. And then player returns. Janssen and Bent, if they play their front two, either one of them fairly good. Or Janssen very good, really. 17 is quite high. And then Slano and Tugay, some goals from midfield. But you've got Dunn, will take penalties if he's on the pitch. Duff is a good player. De Boer has got that shot of playing up front, maybe, we've seen. So, wouldn't put you off anybody from Blackburn this week. Attack or defence. Man United Sunderland. Man United attack at home. Sunderland away to a high rep team will go and defend. They will try and counter attack, and they won't have men behind the ball, so not as desperate as some other teams would go away to Man United, but still defensive. United will attack, and they've obviously got better players. And looked good for United in the Sims, so you can see there's only 3 1s from United down here. 17 times out of 20 they've hit at least 2. They've hit 6-0 there, 5-1 red card effective. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times they've hit 3. So add the others, so 9, 10, 11, 12 times out of 20 they've hit 3 or more. Sunderland struggling a bit. 11 blanks. But, I suppose the odd goal here and there. For me, I've got Phillips and Arca, so I'm not going to get rid of both of them. Fingers crossed one of them can do something. Whichever one I end up keeping. But really strong for Man United. Player returns. This is a bit of a turn up for the books, given what we're seeing with Chadwick at the moment. Is he ahead of Beckham now? Maybe he is, but either way, Chadwick himself got on here in his own right. So United really were on a bit of a tear down the right-hand side in my Sims. So yeah, it looks good if you bought it. If you're one of those people that have brought in Chadwick, if he starts, looks pretty good. Other than that, Van Nistelrooy, Giggs, Veron, of course, they've all got a great chance in a game that looks so good. Newcastle derby. So Newcastle attack at home, Man City defend away from home, but against a sort of lower opposition team, they won't have men behind the ball, and they will try and counter-attack, and they press. So kind of similar to Blackburn, they're defensive, but they are working the opposition. When they turn over possession, they'll try and attack. They will press. An offside trap is a decent tactic against direct passing. Which you'd class long ball under the direct. So teams that play offside trap against direct or long ball, that's a good tactic. So it turns out pretty close. Newcastle just shading it. But nothing too explosive, only averaging 1.2 goals. They've managed a 4-0 there, a 3-1, a few twos, but a lot of tight games. So as I say, similar to Blackburn a couple of weeks ago, really. Just, I suppose, with a slightly higher ceiling than we saw against Blackburn. You can never rule that man Shearer out. We could get that 4-0 and he gets a hat-trick. But balance of probability is we'll get, a 1-1, 2-1, 1-1. There's lots of that, isn't there? And then player returns. So Hughes came out on top, I think by virtue of the fact that he's capable of scoring or assisting, really. That's what's got him on top. Wanchop and Huckabee, so Man City's returns tend to be concentrated on their front two, and then Tiato and Svensson. And Court and Shearer there as well, so you can't rule them out. But balance of probability. There's there's other games that look more likely for a heavy win somewhere. In terms of transfers and captaincy and all that. Villa derby. Villa will attack at home. Derby will play normal. So they're not going to give up the game, but Villa slightly more aggressive. And Villa just shading it. Winning half the time. Averaging slightly more goals, but there's a good handful of games up here, isn't there, where we've got both teams scoring a couple. A 3-0 win for Villa there. So Villa have hit 5 times. So a quarter of the time Villa have hit 3 or 4. That's not bad really for a team like Villa. And then they've hit 2 a few more times as well. So a pretty decent game for Villa. Attacking wise, but just defensively not that great. And then Derby wouldn't write them off completely. Even less chance of a clean sheet, but they've still got a chance of getting something going forward. So yeah, fairly evenly matched game really. Wouldn't, if you've got assets from either team, I wouldn't write them off. And then player returns. As I've said before about Villa, it's difficult to sim Villa player returns. It's just an illustration that you've got a few different people here. Angel is still a good pick for Villa this week. Hadji, if he plays, definitely a good pick. Hendry, Boateng, you know the drill. And then Christian Morris, yeah. Seems about right. Ravanelli, Valakari, you know the guys. Finally, Watford, Ipswich. So Watford, the great entertainers, will attack at home. Ipswich will come and play normal. So again, they're not going to give up the game. But Watford slightly out on top. So as we often see with Watford at home, definitely capable of scoring a few goals. but not too likely to keep a clean sheet really. And Ipswich, again as the away team at Vicarage Road, could definitely get a goal or two themselves. So it's going to be a similar story to a lot of Watford games at home that we've seen. Another relatively open game. So it looks like potentially a decent week, doesn't it? There's any really Man United, Arsenal, Leeds, and Middlesbrough that looks like a bit of a walkover. And then the others, in terms of attacking returns, there's potential either way. So it could be a good week for differentials, I think. So let's do picks of the week first. So Viduka out on top, away at Charlton, really strong game for Leeds. I think my transfer will probably be Phillips to Viduka. And then Beckham. So we all know what's happening with the Chadwick Beckham situation. Just take Beckham as the poster boy for Man United being a strong game in general, really. Boxic, strong game at home to Millwall. Janssen, Blackburn looking really strong away to Everton. And then Henry, definitely fancy Henry this week at home to Leicester. He's probably due a goal. And definitely expect Arsenal to win that game by 2 or 3. So little look ahead. So let's do defence first. So this is similar to what we looked at last week. Obviously, I've just taken out game week 10, added in game week 14. So in terms of who's got a good run, I think it's fairly similar. So a few teams have got a bad game out of the way, maybe. But you can see the picks there. I think Newcastle's the big change. So Newcastle, that Sunderland away last week looked a terrible game, but now that's out the way. 2 out of their next 3, are reasonable chances at home if you're looking for a budget defender for the short term. So that's your defensive outlook. You can shot that and digest it really. Look ahead attacking. So Arsenal now they've got that sort of tough looking game away to Blackburn out of the way. I think Arsenal have got 4 greens now. They're going to attack in all of their next 4 games, and the opposition matchups are good for them as well. So Leeds is potentially a tougher game, but as we saw at Old Trafford, when Leeds go away to a high rep team, they really do defend and put men behind the ball. So in terms of the tactics, although Leeds is a tough game on paper, I think Arsenal have got 4 greens in a row now going forward. Leicester as well. So once I really don't like them this week, but after this week, maybe thinking ahead, they've got 3 really good games after that. So again, feel free to screenshot that, digest it. Feel free to interact with me on Twitter, ask any questions. If I can help, I will. So that's it for this week. Good luck with the game week, and see you next time. Cheers.